All right, again, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for our May member meeting. We have an exciting agenda planned for everyone. Again, those quick reminders, the call is being recorded. There is closed captioning available. I will be one of your hosts alongside Daisy. My name is Antoinette Ratcliffe. For those who are not familiar with myself, I am the outside organizing director here at Initiate Justice, and my preferred pronouns are she, her, and hers. And my co-host tonight is Daisy.
Hi, everybody. Welcome tonight. I see that there's definitely folks joining us for the first time in the chat. Just wanted to say welcome. You're in for a treat. One, we have Miss Betty in the house today. Always a pleasure when she's in space with us, and you'll be hearing from her a little later on. Miss Betty is one of our outside organizers and also facilitators for some of our Mindfulness Monday circles. But you're all in definitely going to be in for a great night. And so we're really excited to be able to share with you all the topic of tonight's event, which is really focusing on the upcoming election and why it's important for you all to be engaged. And we'll also be joined by our guests from Initiate Justice Action. So also extremely excited to be able to have them share information with you all that is really crucial to our community. But I use she, her, pronouns, and I just wanted to say hi before we continue with the rest of our program. As folks are trickling in, some things I wanted to remind folks that the chat is available for your use in case you have any questions. Feel free to drop them in the chat and we will do our best to answer them throughout the course of the evening. If for some reason we're not able to get to you tonight, we will contact you via email to provide that response. There's also closed captioning available. So if you would like to turn on the subtitles, you're able to do that via the option on your end. But I think that is all I have. And also reminder that we are recording this call for folks who want to rewatch this or if we're not able to make this tonight. So with that being said, Antoinette, anything else you wanted to add before I get us started for the evening?
Yes, I just wanted to provide a quick overview of the agenda for folks that might be multitasking or tuning in while still, committed to other things. So we're going to start with a welcome grounding exercise, as well as recognizing some new members. And then we'll share several updates. First, our organizational updates, and then our committees will provide updates. That will be from about 6:45 to 7:15. And then, as Daisy mentioned, our main segment is going to be discussing the importance of civic engagement or voting in the upcoming elections. And so that segment is going to start at 7:15. We'll start with a discussion amongst ourselves. And then at 7:45, IJ Action will share a presentation sort of guiding us through the upcoming elections. And then at 8:15, we'll begin to wrap up with our member of the month and any closing remarks, upcoming meetings. And for those of you who are joining us for the very first time, we ask that you stay after we close at 8:30. From 8:30 to 8:45, we will have a new member orientation to sort of get you a little bit more familiar with us in our work if you are joining us for the first time. So thank you everyone for being here. It is my pleasure to host our May member meeting alongside Daisy, and I will pass it back to you, Daisy.
Thanks, Antoinette. So we usually like to start off our meetings by doing a grounding exercise that is facilitated by one of our organizers who also helps with our healing committee and Mindfulness Monday Circle. So I'm actually going to pass it to Oka, who's going to get us started with that exercise.
Thank you, Daisy. Hi, everyone. I'm grateful to be here. My name is Oka. I go by she, her, and they pronouns. And let's get into a nice guided and grounded space. So feel free to turn off your camera, or you can keep it on, whatever feels nice. If you'd like, you can lay down, or you can sit up. Feel free to close your eyes, or you can gaze down towards your nose. And begin to unattach from anything that was happening before. Begin to call all of your energy back inside of you. Begin to notice your breath, compassion. Feel free to deepen your inhale. Fully surrender into this moment. Deepen your exhale, softening your body on every exhale. Notice the air coming in and the air coming out. Begin to notice the sounds around you. The sounds inside of you. It's okay if thoughts come up. We're human. Let them flow away if you'd like. I invite you to place your left hand over your heart and the other hand on your belly. Begin to feel your heart beating in this moment. Breathing in love and breathing out compassion. Send gratitude to your heart for beating all of these years, all of today, for beating in this moment of now. All we have is now. And the beautiful thing is now is happening all the time. Begin to see this green light inside of your heart. And as you breathe in, this light expands into your body, into every single cell in your body. In this space, call in your intention. The intention for the night, the week, the month, the year, or your life. Slowly bring your hand down. Take a deep collective inhale of compassion and love and grace in, filling up your belly if that feels good, filling up your heart space, and letting it out when it feels right, sharing it with the world. Another deep, loving, compassionate breath in. And sharing it on your exhale. Yourself. Another deep, loving, compassionate, grounded breath in, filling up the lower belly, the heart space, the lungs. Letting it out, maybe you sigh it out. When we begin to see our own suffering, then self-compassion is born. As you gently open your eyes, begin to see all of the colors and the shapes that your eyes get to see on this beautiful evening. And to hear the sounds. Maybe you wiggle your fingers and your toes. And maybe you just take a big stretch up. Maybe your shoulders come up to your ears and you just kind of roll them and then forward the other direction. Maybe your ears touch your shoulders. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Oka, for leading us in that grounding exercise. For folks who are just tuning in, we just finished the grounding exercise that was led by Oka, who's one of our outside organizers that's involved with the leading the healing committee. And they host several mindfulness circles, which we'll hear about later on. But feel free to drop in the chat what that was like for you. If it's your first time engaging in a grounding exercise, do you feel more relaxed? We'd love to hear your thoughts on that, but also extending that invitation to folks who wanted to participate in these types of exercises to tune into our healing committee updates, which will be happening later on. But thank you so much for that, Oka. My name is Daisy, and I am Initiate Justice's statewide advocacy manager, and I'm co-facilitating today's meeting along with Antoinette, who serves as our outside organizing director. And so we're excited to bring tonight's program to everybody. And for folks who are just tuning in, we just want to remind you that feel free to utilize the chat to ask any questions you have. We welcome them and are more than happy to do our best to answer them throughout the course of the evening. And again, if for some reason we are not able to get to that tonight, we'll make sure to circle back and provide some responses to your questions. And so we wanted to first start off by recognizing some new outside members for our meeting. So a little bit of background for folks who are brand new. I know we have several people in attendance tonight who are joining us for the first time. Here at Initiate Justice, we have an outside membership structure that really allows for folks in the community to be part of our work out here outside of prison walls. And so we have a membership structure on the outside that allows anybody in the community, whether they identify as being system impacted or not, to become an outside member. And so by doing this, we ask that folks, in order to qualify, at least attend at least 3 monthly meetings in a 4-month period. So this meeting tonight is a monthly member meeting. These are hosted on the first Wednesdays of every night from 6:30 to 8:30. So we ask that you attend 3 of these in a 4-month period, and that would qualify you, along with completing the short orientation that Antoinette and I do with folks at the very end of tonight's meeting. So if it's your first time, we ask that you stay for that short orientation. We promise we won't keep you for long. We know it is a long night, but we hope just to make sure to give you a little bit of more information to make sure that you're prepared with, as far as knowing the organization and how we came to be. And then in addition to that, we ask that you also support at least one of our committees. And so committees are made up of members like here tonight anybody in the general community who wants to be involved in a particular aspect of our work. And we'll go over each of those committees in a little bit as far as what they do, who leads them, and we'll also be hearing updates as far as what each committee is working on. And so these committees meet at least once a month. And so we ask that you sign up to support one of these committees. We have 5, so there's various that you can choose from, but that would qualify you to become an outside member. So tonight, we want to uplift 2 new outside members that we want to recognize who have satisfied these requirements. And so I just ask that you all join me in welcoming Mercedes O and Casper T, who are onboarded today as new outside members. So congratulations to the both of you. We do send out welcome packages to our new outside members, and that includes an Initiate Justice t-shirt, as well as some other IJ goodies that we like to share with folks for becoming an outside member. So we'll be in touch, but just wanted to share that for folks who are new and are wanting to become outside members. Those are some things you can look forward to. But with that being said, I'm actually going to turn it over to my co-host Antoinette, who's going to go over some organizational updates with us.
Thank you, Daisy. Thank you again, Oka, for that grounding. And my job is actually really easy today because I'm actually going to be turning it over first to Adam, who's going to share with us a very exciting update about things going on at IJ.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. All newcomers, we welcome you. We welcome you. We welcome you. Hello, friends, family. How we doing? I'm so happy to announce that is Wellness Week. Wellness Week is back this year, and we are starting May 8th until May 12th. And this time, our fundraiser will be uplifting our community of inside organizers made up of 275 incarcerated people throughout California prison systems who work to change laws by uplifting incarcerated voices through the state political process. Specifically, we are fundraising to send care packages. So to give you all a little backstory, we do send packages to our inside organizers that's actually putting in the work, and we like to show them and show some care to them that, you know, we appreciate the work that they do and it don't get unnoticed. So this year we are uplifting all the work that they are doing to be able to fundraise to send that package. We encourage you to participate by donating and asking your friends to donate with the social media tools provided, or just by attending a free class. We'll have 3 classes this week to invest in a culture of wellness. And those 3 classes will be, one will be a Zumba fitness class, and then on Tuesday will be a writing class with our own Ra, and then we will have the closing event class, will be led by myself and Lee. And so we are especially excited for our closing event because we are going to have a special presentation where we're going to have, I don't want to say direct interact, but let's just say we're going to be hearing from some of our inside organizers themselves on what wellness looks like. So please mark your calendars, and thank you for participating. Let's uplift and continue to keep our incarcerated organizers encouraged and uplifted. With that, I'll pass it back to you, Antoinette.
Thank you, Adam. And Daisy and I are plugging the information into the chat for everyone. But yes, next week is our week of wellness, May 8th to the 12th. There are some ways that you can plug in, filling out an interest form, and also donating through our Give Butter. So all of those details are being plugged into the chat for all of you, but we really hope that everyone will join us for our week of wellness as we raise funds to continue to support and develop our inside organizers. And so for those of you who are new, you'll hear a little bit more from Adam, but our inside organizers are folks incarcerated throughout California state prisons who are mobilizing and organizing people inside to advocate for policy change, sharing information with them, bill updates, action items, to have folks engaged in our work. And so thank you, Adam, for introducing our week of wellness, and definitely tune into the chat for those details and links. And then also another update, our Abolitionist for Everybody podcast. We are airing our next episode of season 2 on Tuesday at 7 o'clock in the morning. And that's going to be, again, next Tuesday at 7 o'clock in the morning. And our podcast episode is Abolition Addresses Sexual Assault. So that's what our guests are going to be talking about alongside our co-hosts, Adam, Ra, and Crystal. And we want to definitely encourage everyone, as you are tuning in to our Abolitionist for Everybody podcast, make sure you're taking care of you. And if you want to learn more about abolition, definitely tune into our Abolition Corner and all of the resources that are available on our website. And I am going to drop that into the chat in just a moment. But we're super excited to continue sharing all of the important stories and perspectives around why abolition is our solution to the harms, to the punishment, and to the consistent oppression of our prison system. But those are our primary updates. We do also want to just let you all know that Initiate Justice will be closed a couple of dates this month. That will be May 27th and also on May 30th. So please be patient with our staff during those dates or that time frame as we work to respond to all emails when we get back following the 30th. But again, thank you everyone for being here tonight. Super excited. Tune into our Week of Wellness next week. Listen to our Abolitionist for Everybody podcast next week. And now you'll have the opportunity to hear what's going on with our different committees, because that's not all that's going on at IJ. There's more. So I'm going to pass it over to Daisy, who's going to lead us through our committee updates tonight.
Thanks, Antoinette. And I know that there are a couple of folks joining us from their phone. So just wanted to uplift some of the details in regards to the Week of Wellness fundraiser that Adam just shared for you all to have access to. So the fundraiser, it can be accessed via if you have texting on your phone by texting initiate, INITIATE, to the number 53555. And again, if you text the word initiate to 53555, you'll be able to pull up that fundraiser on your phone. And so really encouraging people to participate by either donating or asking your friends to donate or attending one of the classes to invest in yourself and in the culture of wellness. As we mentioned, this is taking place next week, and really want to make sure that folks are able to amplify this event within the events that are being taking place throughout the Week of Wellness with your networks, because this is actually going directly to benefit our inside organizers. And if you are new to Initiate Justice, inside organizers are incarcerated people throughout California prisons who actually work to change laws by uplifting the voices of people who are incarcerated in the political process. And we currently have 275 of these inside organizers that Lee and Adam manage. And so we really want to make sure that we can raise these funds in order to be able to contribute to their packages that we give them. And these packages are a huge part of prison life and a big part of our commitment to the wellness of our organizers. So really encourage you all to share the fundraiser with your networks. And just to also give you a little insight as far as what the funds actually, how they help our inside organizers in that program. An example is every $10 that is raised actually allows us to send a 61-page training manual and workbook to develop new inside organizers to organize within their facilities, to build that political power inside and to make voices from the inside heard. So that is, and it's a small sample of what $10 can do to support the work that they are doing. And even $50 that is fundraised through this through these efforts will buy a healing and appreciation care package that is sent to our inside organizers who do a ton of work behind the scenes in terms of uplifting our campaign. So again, feel free to check out that link that we dropped in the chat and share with your networks. We're having a Zumba on Monday night, poetry storytelling class on Tuesday night, and on Wednesday, we'll be having that closing event. But just really encourage you all to share it with 5 people, or if you have social media, share it with the platforms that you're on. That would be a huge help. But if any questions if there's any questions in regards to this, you can definitely contact fundraiser at Initiate Justice And I'll drop that email in the chat here in a second for any questions that you may have. But with that being said, sorry about that. With that being said, I wanted to lead us into our committee updates. So I mentioned earlier that part of our membership structure and making sure that folks are able to stay involved with the work that we are doing, because we can't do this alone. We need our community to be able to support the efforts that we are doing, is the committees that we have in place. And so we have 5 different committees, and they each focus on different parts of our work at Initiate Justice. These committees are led by either staff that run the departments or by outside organizers who have gone through a training program here in Initiate Justice known as the Institute of Impacted Leaders. And so the first committee that I'm actually going to turn it over to is our advocacy committee, which is led by Greg and Sarah. They're our policy team. And so this committee supports our policy campaigns while empowering our members to be confident and impactful advocates. They organize to help pass various pieces of legislation that we are co-sponsoring or supporting. And they're also expanding its scope by creating spaces to equip our members to be policy advocates in their everyday lives and engage with the abolition movement. So I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, who's going to go over what the committee has been up to and what are some of the upcoming events that they are going to be having. That way you can look forward to joining those if that's something you're interested in getting involved with.
Thanks so much, Daisy. Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Sarah. I'm the policy analyst here at Initiate Justice. I use she, her pronouns. And as Daisy said, I co-lead the advocacy committee with Greg, and then I also lead Abolition Corner, which I will speak more about in just a second. But really the point of advocacy committee is to connect our members to our legislative campaigns like our co-sponsored bills. I'll start with a quick status update on the bills we're supporting this year before going over this month's committee events. So in general, we are in a very good place with our policy package. We knew that this year was going to be, in general, super tough for progressive legislation because, in general, the political climate is not in our favor. This is one of the reasons that, to start with, we cast such a wide net in creating our bill package, right? Because we knew that this was going to be such a tough year for legislative bills, or for progressive bills, excuse me. So with that being said, we wanted to tell everyone that unfortunately, one of our bills is not continuing this year. So SB 875, the parole suitability bill, will not be moving forward. I want to reassure everybody with a little bit of hope that we all have maintained a dual focus of holding the line. So making sure that all of the many bad bills are not progressing our line, that instead we're making sure that they don't undo all of our work. And we're also opening other certain doors, even in this climate where they're likely to be shut. So of course, we're disappointed that we weren't able to continue with this particular bill this particular year, but we'll still continue investing in the culture shift that's needed to help prepare for future campaigns, and specifically future campaigns on much needed parole legislation. So we're still committed to the fight in this specific area, but it just won't be through the vehicle of this specific bill. And we'll talk more about that advocacy committee this month, but we just wanted to give all of our members a heads up as soon as possible. On lighter news, for all of our other bills, for AB 2195 with Assemblymember Joan Sawyer, the Alternative Plea Act, it's going to be taken up on the floor likely this Thursday. For AB 2632 by Assemblymember Holden, our bill addressing solitary confinement, it'll likely be taken up Thursday the 19th, along with AB 2176 by Assemblymember Kalra, the Alternatives to Incarceration bill. Other than that, SB 1106 by Senator Wiener has already passed the Senate floor and is on to Assembly, along with AB 256, the Racial Justice Act for All from last year, which already passed the Assembly and is waiting in the Senate. So as I said, yes, of course it's disappointing, but overall we're still in a very, very good place. In most part, thanks to advocates like you and all of our inside members. And I just want to remind everyone that you can always check out the policy page of the website for all of the current updates. and more information. Along with, as I mentioned, advocacy committee this month, we'll be talking about not just the update more in depth with SB 875, but all of our legislative updates. That being said, if you want to come to advocacy committee to talk about those things, it's the third Tuesday of every month from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. So that means that this month it's the 19th. And then we also have Abolition Corner, which is a companion space to our podcast. So hand in hand with our policy change needs to be a culture shift, right? A culture change. And one of the ways we do that is by unpacking and working through abolition together in a community, which is what Abolition Corner is. This month's topic will go along with the episode that's about to be released. So it will be how abolition addresses sexual violence. And as I mentioned, that's the fourth Tuesday. So this month it'll be the 26th, again, from 5:30 to 6:30. As Daisy put in the chat, you can access the RSVPs in the link that Daisy just pasted, or again on our website. And everything is virtual. So feel free to pop on and come join us and learn about advocacy or abolition. But with that, I will pass back to Daisy. Thank you all and happy Wednesday.
Thanks, Sarah, for those updates. And we dropped the link in the chat, but for folks who are calling in, you can go to our website, initiatejustice.org, and under policy calendar, you're able to pull up that list of events. We also have a main calendar tab where you can access all of our events, and we'll show you all what that looks like at the end of the committee updates. But all of the events are easily accessible on that page, and you can RSVP directly through there. So again, the advocacy committee will be having 2 events in the month of May. Their main committee meeting, which will be taking place on Tuesday, May 17th, and Abolition Corner, which will be taking place on the 24th of this month, both events starting at 5:30. So we hope to see you there. Our next committee update, I'm actually going to give because it is for our Inside Membership Committee, and they are actually traveling right now. So I am honored to do this update on their behalf. So the Inside Membership Committee supports our communication with and the recruitment of our inside members. Inside members are folks who are incarcerated in California state prisons and receive our quarterly newsletter that we send out to them that has updates on our campaigns, on our work, and other relevant information that we want to share with them, or even calls to action that we have, such as requests for letters of support. And so we're currently at about a little over 45,000 inside members. And so it really is this committee that puts in the work to develop those inside journal magazines that get sent in, as well as translating to make the Spanish version available, and also respond to mail that comes that we receive from our inside members asking us questions about the work that we are doing, and also additional names of individuals who want to sign up to receive the next newsletter. So this committee, it really helps support that department and making sure that they are able to get all of that completed. And so they will be having their next meeting on Wednesday, May 11th from 5:30 to 6:30. And in particular, the Inside Membership Committee is looking for the members of that committee to contribute to the abolitionist work that we do. So they actually have an exciting art project that is planned to do just that. So at the meeting on May 11th, they're actually going to discuss the planning of launching the event for this project. So for folks who are interested in participating in that, you can RSVP at the link that we dropped in the chat, or you can also reach out to our Inside Membership Department, which is led by Crystal and Efrain, and I'll drop their emails in the chat. But it's Crystal at initiatejustice.org, and then Efrain, EFRAIN at initiatejustice.org. Crystal is CRYSTAL. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to email them. But that's something that we're looking forward to folks really helping out, because that is one of the big exciting things that they are working on this year. So we dropped the link in the chat for you to RSVP. And we hope that if that's something you have capacity to support, that we see you there. The next committee that is up in terms of giving updates, I'm laughing because they're always very energetic in terms of what they bring to the room. I already see that they have syncing backgrounds, so they're ready to go. But the Inside Organizing Committee, which we mentioned, the fundraiser that we are doing for the Week of Wellness is benefiting the Inside Organizing Department. This committee actually helps develop the leadership of our Inside Organizers. So I mentioned earlier that we currently have 275 Inside Organizers. And so that the Inside Organizers are managed by our Inside Organizing team, which is made up of Lee and Adam. So the committee members help with training our Inside Organizers over the phone, contributing to the projects that they are working and planning, and also with the logistics in terms of the curriculums that they develop and other projects. So I'm actually going to turn it over to the fantastic dynamic duo of Lee and Adam, who will take it from here with updates as far as what they are working on.
Thank you so much for, come on, Daisy. Thank you so much for filling in for the Inside team tonight. We super appreciate you. And Betty, I see you there. We're coming. Good evening, my civic engagement enthusiasts. Tonight's meeting is all about civic engagement and building community. I am Lee Gibson, he, him, his. I'm the Inside Organizing Manager, my Inside Organizing collaborator in prison abolition. Adam, for those that weren't here earlier, please introduce yourself again.
Hey, what up, everybody? My name is Adam Kane, pronoun he, him, his, and I work alongside with Lee as an Inside Organizing collaborator with Inside Organizing. And so currently we have 275 IOs, we have 40 senior IOs, and we have 10 IOs, 10 mentors, excuse me. And we're gonna kind of break down a little stuff so y'all can kind of, take a glimpse of what's really taking place in the Inside Organizing Committee. So what the IO team does is we train and educate incarcerated folks about the legislation process, intersectionality, and personal-centered language. We do this through a 62-page curriculum and workbook where graduates receive certificates and support letters for their efforts. In addition, we also send the care packages, which is why we uplifting our IOs during wellness, because things that they receive in a package is very, very, very vital to their wellness, because you can get not only just things from food and hygiene, you can also get things such as hobby craft things, take your mind away. It's just so much that you can get inside of that package. And, we make sure that we want to contribute to our IOs and continue to uplift them. So please participate and pass word to everybody about what's taking place in our IOs and how we are supporting a program that's never been done before. I just had to throw that out there because I am a former Inside Organizer, so I'm going to represent to the fullest. Then when they are released, they join our communities and continue to defend for human rights, right? And I, once again, I was I'm formerly incarcerated, and I was an Inside Organizer, and everything that I have learned from Inside Organizing when I came home just lined up. And as a matter of fact, I see a couple former Inside Organizers myself, which I'm not going to put on blast. So with that, Lee, I'll pass it to you, and so you can share with them how it goes from being an Inside Organizer to a senior Inside Organizer.
I'll put them on blast. What's up, Jay? What's up, Emiliano? I see you all out there. Hey, and plus that isn't the only way that we support our Inside Organizers. We also support them in leveling up, to making sure that they're supported as senior Inside Organizers, making sure that they're collecting the support letters we need, conducting the surveys that we need, and carrying out those social justice action items behind those walls so we can change the laws and the propositions out here to bring our loved ones home. So to continue to support, we have phone trainers, we have people that review curriculums that are a part of the IO committee. So if you want to join your peers in helping your loved ones come home, please join the IO committee. We meet every Thursday directly after the day after the Inside membership meeting at 5:30. We meet for an hour. We have a good time. We also share, talk about what we're learning, talk about what we're going to do, and talk about the steps that are necessary for us to continue to bring our loved ones home. Again, you can hit me up at lee@initiatejustice.org, or you can hit up Adam at initiatejustice.org. Again, please join our Week of Wellness this next week. It's going to be fire. It's going to be live. We got Zumba going on. We got poetry class, and we got some words from our loved ones behind those walls that are going to put their voices in your ears and give you some hope and some encouragement so we can continue on in this fight. So thank you so much, Daisy. Thank you so much, Adam. And Betty, I still see you over there. We can't wait to get this civic engagement workshop going.
Thanks, Lee and Adam, for that. This is all natural energy. We don't give them any like monster drinks or anything. This is them every month. So if you like that energy, come every month and you'll see them feature a different background every time in their updates. But thank you for that, Lee and Adam. We also dropped their emails in the chat. So if you all have any questions in regards to Inside Organizing Department, feel free to contact Lee at Lee, L-E-E, at initiatejustice.org. Or you can contact Adam, which is Adam, A-D-A-M, at initiatejustice.org. But with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Antoinette, who's going to go over the outside membership committee that we co-lead together, and what has been up with this committee thus far.
Thank you, Daisy, and thank you, Lee and Adam. Yes, if you love that energy, want to continue to be in space with Lee and Adam, then join them tomorrow, May 5th at 5:30, and every first Thursday after our member meeting at 5:30. And the link to RSVP was plugged into the chat. But for those who are listening in at any point in time to RSVP for the Inside Organizing Committee meeting, all that you have to do is type in your browser, tiny URL, that's TINYURL.com/IJIO monthly. And at any given time, that will take you to RSVP for the next upcoming Inside Organizing Committee meeting. So moving on to our outside membership committee meeting that Daisy and I co-lead. Our outside membership committee is responsible for maintaining and building the engagement and the power of our outside members. And we also focus on ways that we can engage and connect with new community members that can potentially become outside members or support our work. And so some of the things that we're focusing on more recently with our outside membership committee is developing some skill building webinars that can provide our outside members and our general impacted community with some of the fundamental skills that we need to not only navigate life, but also to be effective advocates. And so at our most recent committee meeting, we talked about some of the ideas and proposed webinars that we will be having hosted by our UCLA interns at the end of this month. And so if you're interested in being involved in that planning process, sort of contributing ideas and brainstorming ways that we can continue to build your power, build your skill set, then please tune into our outside membership committee meeting. We also talked about our InfoZine projects, which are mini booklets we're hoping to release widely to the community very soon that break down some of the important concepts around our work, around prison abolition, around advocacy to end incarceration into very simple terms and terms that are easy to understand. And so some that we've already created and have available and we'll be sharing with the community soon are our Abolition is for Everybody InfoZine. Some of you may have already seen that. We also have one on people-centered language, and we're working on 2 more on what are sentence enhancements and how do they impact us and the negative impacts of solitary confinement. So those are the 2 that we're working on. So if you're interested in supporting either of those efforts or generating and contributing new ideas for how we can continue to build your power, mobilize you all as outside members and others in the community, how we can do outreach to impacted community members like ourselves, then tune in to our outside membership committee meeting that happens every 4th Wednesday of each month at 5:30 p.m. And you can register for any of our outside membership committee meetings at any given time at tinyurl.com/IJOM monthly. So like Initiate Justice outside membership monthly. So tinyurl.com/IJOM monthly to RSVP for our next upcoming committee meeting. And our next committee meeting for the month of May is going to be on May 25th at 5:30 p.m. So we're excited to see some of your faces there, contributing some of your ideas, that creativity, and really that insight we need to know what we can do and how we can best serve all of our impacted community members to become and be effective advocates in our fight to end incarceration. So thank you, everyone. And I'm actually going to pass it back to Daisy to lead us through the last of our committee updates.
Thanks, Antoinette. And I also dropped our emails in the chat. So if anybody has questions for outside membership committee, you can email Antoinette, ANTOINETTE @initiatejustice.org, or myself, Daisy, like the flower, DAISY @initiatejustice.org. We welcome any questions that you have regarding the committee or outside membership questions in general. The last committee I'm going to uplift is our healing committee. So I mentioned earlier, Oka, you all, if you were here, you were part of that grounding exercise. Oka is one of our outside organizers that helps in leading this committee and the events that they put out. And there's also several outside organizers of ours that are part of the facilitating group of individuals who help lead the mindfulness circles that they host. So I'm actually going to turn it over to, I believe, Miss Betty, who's going to give our updates for the healing committee. So Miss Betty, I'm going to turn it over to you in terms of updates that you want to share with folks in regards to the committee.
Thank you, Daisy. It's always a pleasure for me to be here to speak on behalf of my fam, IJ, especially about healing. You know, we think that, oh, I'm good now, or oh, I'm working it, but really we all need to touch some type of healing, because healing and healed people help people. And you can only give your best. You can only give what you have. So if you have that healing, you can pass that on in 1,000 different ways. There are 50 people here right now. 54 of us need to be doing some type of healing. And IJ has made it our business to have those opportunities available for our folks. It's available to you. You don't have to pay, which, do you know how much therapist goes? Do you know how much when we can heal, we can help and heal each other. And we have circles. I want to mention the circles. I challenge each and every one of you to try at least 3 of the offered circles. Just try it. If you don't like it, you don't go. But I guarantee you, if you try it, you will be hooked. You will be amazed at what happens and the breakthroughs and the things that happen in these circles. The first circle is we have the circle for men. We have the mindfulness circle for men, which is on Monday, May 9th at 6 p.m. We have a circle for people who have experienced incarceration. For formerly incarcerated people, yours is on the 16th. That's with me. You know you want to be with me. Come on. I got something for you. I got something for you. Don't tell everybody, because it's just for you. And I'm talking to all 50 of you. Okay. So the other one is, so that was for formerly incarcerated people. And then there's a circle for folks with incarcerated loved ones. And that's on Monday, May 23rd at 6 p.m. They're all at 6 p.m. I really, really challenge you to try 2. If you try 2 and you're not stuck, you call me. I'm gonna give you my number after you do the 2. Okay, but I ain't gonna give you my number now because you just be playing with me. Okay, but I am on the real side. These circles are phenomenal. They are phenomenal. And I really suggest, if you in this movement, I don't care what part you're doing, you need to touch base with your folks in a healing space. And I challenge you to do that and tell me if I'm wrong. I'm not. I'm never wrong. Okay, but anyway, okay, I just learned from Taina. That's all I'll say. I say, and then I got Daisy as my other sidekick. I could never be wrong because I have them to get answers from. But I tell y'all, I'm really I came here. I'm missing I'm belling out Black mamas right now, y'all. But I said I'm gonna come later because I really, really, really wanted to get this message out to you. I really, really, really wanted to get this message out to you. And there's also a healing volunteer committee survey that if you would please just fill it out. Give us some information. We only know what you tell us, and we can only make it better for you if you share with us. So please do the survey and let us know what we could do better. I appreciate the time here. My time is short and this is I got to go. But I love y'all. Let's get healed together so that we can heal others and so that we can be badass in this movement and set our people free. Check.
Mic drop for Miss Betty. Thank you very much for those updates, Miss Betty. And again, just uplifting the Healing Committee Volunteer Survey. So if you're feeling called to help with things like leading meditations, like the one that Oka did at the beginning of this meeting for other spaces, then definitely fill out that Healing Committee survey. Or if you feel called to support with our healing curriculum, which is like tools and resources that we are providing to folks who are inside to make sure that they also have access to healing, then please fill out that survey as our inside organizing team is working to incorporate some of those tools for our inside organizers so they too are helping people heal and ensuring that they themselves are healed. So thank you again, Miss Betty. If you have any questions about the Healing Committee or the Healing the Mindful Monday circles, then you can email joinhealing@initiatejustice.org. Again, that's join, JOIN, healing, HEALING @initiatejustice.org. Thank you, Miss Betty. And
I have like 10 more seconds, Antoinette. And can we donate? I don't care if it's $2. I don't care if it's 200. Can you donate? Because let's just say our inside organizers need care and wellness too. So do what you can and then get in that healing circle. Then when they get out, you can bring them and help them get healed. So donate, please donate. I already did mine, okay? So now I'm tagging all y'all. Bye.
Thank you, Miss Betty. You can always have 10 more seconds because everything you say is a gem. Everything you say is valid and everything you say we all need to hear. So thank you very, very much, Miss Betty. And I will pass it. So we talked about a lot of meetings. There's meetings all the time here at IJ because there's so much work to be done in abolishing prisons and punitive justice systems here in the state of California, but in the US in general. So I'm going to pass it to Daisy real quick so you guys can learn a little bit of what's the best way to sort of access all of those different meetings in one place on our website.
Thanks, Antoinette. And I just dropped the link in the chat, but I'm going to screen share that way you all can see where in our website you can access this. So give me 1 second, folks, while I get this up on my screen. So our website, initiatejustice.org. It's a great, beautiful page. I highly encourage you all to check it out. And at the top of the screen, you'll notice that there is on the top of the screen, there's several different sections you can click on. There's a section that says events, and this is where you are able to pull up our monthly calendar of events. So everything that's happening in the month is accessible here. Tomorrow, again, is the first committee meeting. That's our inside organizing committee. Remember that they have a fundraiser happening next week. So would love to have folks show up and support that committee and the efforts that they are doing. So you can click on, this is an example, this committee event that's happening tomorrow. And you'll be able to see a brief summary of what that event is going to be as far as when it's taking place, what time. And in this case, where we are wanting to RSVP for the event, we just click on that link that takes us to the Zoom RSVP page. And from here, you're able to select which of their committee meetings you're interested in attending. So again, this is all accessible via our website. And again, really encourage folks to check that out. We always have a lot going on. So we ask that you, if you're new, check out at least one committee and get involved. And you know, there's definitely help that we need everywhere. So welcome anybody who has capacity to join. And for anybody who is brand new or wants to sign up for a new committee that they are not part of, I also just dropped the link in the chat. It is tinyurl.com, tinyurl.com /join IJ in lowercase letters, JOIN IJ, and that will take you to a form where you can sign up the committees that you're interested in. That way we can get you on their email list for the events that they have coming up. But with that being said, I'm actually gonna get us started for our event for tonight because we do have guest speakers from Initiate Justice Action who will be talking about the upcoming election. But before we actually turn it to them, we wanted to give folks an opportunity to get caught up to speed in terms of why it's important, even in the first place, to become engaged with elections and the right to vote and things that are happening in our community. So especially since we have folks who are here for the first time, you may or may not be familiar with our work, but we want to first start off by reminding everybody in the room that Initiate Justice is actually a 501c3 status organization, which means we are actually, as Initiate Justice, not allowed to endorse candidates. And so we ask that for our members and folks in the community, that if you are supporting candidates, that you do so as yourself, instead of being a representative of Initiate Justice, since we are not allowed to do that as an organization. But you'll be hearing more about Initiate Justice Action and the difference in that organization as far as what they're able to do. But in terms of us, Initiate Justice, we just ask that you not loop in Initiate Justice as someone that is endorsing a candidate. Now, with Initiate Justice Action, folks who have been involved with or following even recent elections may be familiar with our most recent win a couple of years ago in 2020, which was Proposition 17. And so a little bit of background on Proposition 17. Proposition 17 restored the right to vote for over 50,000 people on parole in California, and parole being the form of supervision that folks are placed on when they are released from state prison. So that meant that there were over 50,000 people in California who up until November 2020 were not able to participate in having a voice in our democracy, in elections, and who gets to represent them. And this idea came about because one of our board members and inside organizers, Rasan Thomas, actually came up with that idea to get this on the ballot. And so this was something that actually was years in the making. The idea came to us and proposed, like, you know, why don't we work on restoring this right back to folks? And so we worked at it and decided to go through the legislative route. And that became a 2-year process where we had to find an assembly member who was willing to take on the task of making sure that we can get this through in the state legislature. And that was a 2-year effort before it finally was approved to actually even get on the ballot. And so that happened in the summer of 2020. So summer of 2020 up until November 2020, that's where we were really actively working on the ballot campaign known as Proposition 17. But all of this other work had gone in before it even became that. And so we had a lot of support from folks in the community and also our inside members and organizers. We mentioned one of the big projects that our inside membership team and committee works on is the Inside Journal, which is something that goes inside 4 times a year, that gets mailed into folks who are incarcerated. And one of the strategies that we decided to use with the newsletter back then was to include postcards to our inside members and organizers. That way they could share those with their loved ones out here And it had information on why it was important for people to vote yes on Proposition 17, and also information so folks could know how to register to vote if they were not aware of that already. So really, it was a strategy that took everybody to help carry. And we ended up being one of the campaigns that was able to pass, I believe, with the highest success rate of margin in that year. So that was something that, if you were part of those efforts, thank you so much. There are actually folks in this room tonight who were direct beneficiaries of Proposition 17 passing, including members of our own team who were able to vote in recent upcoming elections. And so past elections recently, including the recall that had just happened recently. So with that being said, we actually wanted to have a conversation with you all, and I saw a hand came up, so definitely I'm going to go to you, Jay, in a second, but wanted to first open it up to folks in the room as far as like, what does it mean for you to be able to vote in this election, in particular, being able to vote on offices that are instrumental in our advocacy efforts. And just to add on to that, that's actually something that will be covered in the upcoming presentation in a few minutes with Initiate Justice Action in terms of offices that are relevant. But wanted to first make space for folks because this is something that, again, was a very big win for our community, and we're not done yet. We're just getting started with what's happening here. But I wanted to first, I saw Jay, your hand is up. If you wanted to share any thoughts you had in regards to that, or what it means to you in terms of being able to vote, if that's something you're able to do as a result of this proposition.
Yes, definitely. Real quick, I was a direct beneficiary of Prop 17, and then so grateful, for IJ for spearheading the efforts, and it's a blessing to be enfranchised. Know you have a voice, especially when you're a paying member, contributing member to society. So just so grateful, and just to know I'll be able to vote in my first primary here in a couple weeks is heavy.
Thank you for sharing, Jay. And Jay's actually one of our former inside organizers. So just to kind of show you to see the evolution of like someone that's formerly incarcerated and now here in community with us and able to participate in the upcoming election, and why it's so important for us to be paying attention to these elections and participating and also advancing, helping advance the work that we are doing, because we can't do this alone. So also wanted to make space for anybody else who either is someone that has been able to benefit from Prop 17 or able to share as far as like why it's even important to vote when it comes to offices that are instrumental in our campaigns. Go ahead, Adam.
I mean, Jay, I have to, second and follow what Jay said. Hello, everybody. Formerly incarcerated, for the ones that may not know who I am. I'm formerly incarcerated. I was, like I said before, an inside organizer, and I actually worked on ACA 6 before Prop 17. And so speaking about that, like for me, I remember, talking about if I could vote and just, seeing the things that was taking place. Because one thing that a lot of people don't talk about when we talk about, being incarcerated and being in prison, especially if you're doing time, everything in prison is political, right? Everything is political, from where we can go use the restroom to where we can sit down to where we can play basketball, right? Everything is developed around politics. And so what happened is, understanding how those politics was, it kind of rubbed off to being very political with watching what's going on in the news, right? To now you're watching to see how all these laws and different things are starting to pertain to you. And you're like, oh, wait, hold up, right? This little light go off. And so when I got into inside organizing, I started to understand the political process a little bit more. And to take it a little step further, when I was working on ACA 6, and I did a recording speaking about if I can vote, right? It really was like, it hurted me that I couldn't vote because, I was incarcerated, and then I know I was coming home and I still wouldn't have that right. And then, Prop 17 passed right around the time I come home, and I was able to participate in voting in the recall. And for me, that feeling felt so good, and it felt so relieving, because it was a lot like, everybody that, let me just say this, like, when you go and you get incarcerated, when you come out, right? You're stripped of that right. And we know that this has been something that's been going on since the 1800s, right? Following, slavery getting abolished or whatnot. And so like to kind of like look at that, it really meant more to me, understanding the history behind it and knowing that going forward, right, I can be that voice to inspire everybody that I speak to, everybody that I come in contact with, the power of voting. And then when people just say, oh, it don't matter, I just hit them with Prop 57, right? I share with them how everybody that has voted led up to me coming home and how important it is. And not just because it just helped me come home, but it helped uplift and help encourage, our communities, and it got people to understand how powerful initiate justice is in general. And so, being able to have the education is just what initiate justice, passed on to me. But when we specifically talking about voting, I just feel like it's taking it a step further to really understand the in depth and how you can affect not only just your community, but you can affect California, we can affect the world, like, period, with understanding how important our voice is. So I just wanted to just share that, and forever grateful as well. And I'll pass it back to you, Antoinette, and thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you also, Jay, but just wanting to really, really uplift again how critical it is that system impacted people now have or people who are formerly incarcerated and on parole now have the right to vote. And also just in general, the importance of us as system impacted people to be engaged in that voting process. And like Daisy mentioned, the offices that are extremely critical to our efforts, such as your state senator and your state assembly member, being able to have a say in who represents you, because we learn here at IJ through the Institute, through our advocacy committee and other spaces, how important it is for us to have relationships with our senators and our assembly members. So then also to be able to have a say in deciding who that person is extremely critical to our work. And so thank you again, Adam. Thank you again, Jay, for sharing. And I think we have just a couple more minutes. If anyone else here on the call is interested in sharing a little bit about how it feels to have your right to vote restored, if that's something that pertains to you. And then also acknowledging Raina, also, who now has the right to vote as well after many, many decades of not being able to be involved in our democratic process. So anyone else, if you want to share in the chat or unmute yourself or raise your hand, we'd love to hear from folks regarding, what it means to you.
I see Craig has his hand up. So Craig, if you want to unmute yourself, I don't know if you're still frozen, but I see your hand up in the air.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. So yeah, I got out just in time to vote in Governor Newsom's recall election, of course, opposing it. And fortunately, we won. And, it really, really gave me a sense of pride and connection to the community to have a voice, however small. But it made me feel much more connected to our society and empowered in some way. And I'm working on a political campaign right now for something called Healthy Streets LA. And so I was out in UCLA, on the UCLA campus today, talking to students. And I met a gentleman that said, I told him, the last thing I said to him was, be sure to vote in November. And he said, well, he said I would, but I just don't think it matters anymore. And I told him about how Prop 57 or how Prop 17 restored my right to vote by voting. And that's how I got my right to vote back, was by people voting. And that really made an impact on him. It revealed to him that I was formerly incarcerated and that previously was not allowed to vote. And the voting public, voting for me and people like me, restored that right for me. And that really hit home with him. It really hit home with him. So, you know, it's very important. Every voice counts. They all add up. They add up one after another.
Thanks so much for sharing that personal testimony, Craig. And I'm glad folks who have been able to benefit from Prop 17 were able to share tonight, because I definitely think it's powerful hearing those personal testimonies, especially from folks that have already been able to or are looking forward to participating in their first election. And that's sometimes a right that people take for granted. And here we are really understanding how it impacts our communities and how important it is to understand what is at stake with every single office that is up for election. So to thank you, all of you, for sharing, and also for your work in spreading that empowerment within our communities, and uplifting the importance of voting. But I actually wanted to turn it over to our guest for tonight, Initiate Justice Action, who's actually going to be going over the primary election that is happening in a couple of weeks, and making sure we're all prepared and understanding what is at stake, and what we need to pay attention to. So we have guests, Taina, who's going to be giving a presentation, and I don't know if anybody else from Initiate Justice Action is joining with that presentation, but also wanted to make space if there are other folks from IJ Action presenting on behalf of the organization tonight.
Yes, thank you so much, Daisy. Jay and Emiliano are also here, and I'm gonna, give them a chance in a minute to introduce themselves as well. But yeah, I just want to echo what everybody was saying, and thank you to Jay, Adam, and Craig for sharing and Raina for sharing your experience as formerly incarcerated people who now have your right to vote restored. We worked so hard with Prop 17, and before it was Prop 17, it was ACA 6, and before it was ACA 6, it was the Voter Restoration and Democracy Act, which it failed, but we kept trying and we kept fighting, and we are committed to continuing this fight. And eventually, I know that we will restore voting rights to currently incarcerated people as well. Nobody should ever lose their right to vote in a free and fair democracy. And Craig, I'm so glad that you were able to talk to that individual about the importance of voting. I'm sure that, like me, a lot of people are reeling from the recent news that the Supreme Court is planning to overturn Roe versus Wade. And that's just such a blatant reminder of how important it is to vote. The person who we elect as president can appoint and can nominate people for the Supreme Court. The people who we elect as senators have to confirm who is on the Supreme Court. The people who we elect as our state governor and in our state legislatures can make our state a sanctuary state for abortions, like Gavin Newsom has done, and like our state legislature is now advancing a constitutional amendment to create a constitutional right to abortion in California. So yeah, I just want to remind everybody how important your voice is. It matters at every single level of government. Everybody here should have the right to vote, assuming you're a citizen and 18 or older. Having a record would not impact your right to vote as long as you're home. So yeah, just I think I'm kind of already transitioning into what the presentation is going to be on. But thank you to everybody for sharing your experience. And yeah, Daisy, I'm happy for you to right on cue to start sharing the presentation. So, as Daisy mentioned, I think a lot of y'all probably know me already. My name is Taina. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm the founder and executive director of Initiate Justice. But Initiate Justice has also branched off and created a new organization in the last year called Initiate Justice Action. So as Daisy mentioned earlier, Initiate Justice is a 501c3 organization which cannot be engaged in candidate work and has limits on its lobbying, but Initiate Justice Action does not have limits on lobbying and absolutely can be involved in candidate work. So I'm grateful that I'm able to share in my capacity as a representative of Initiate Justice Action this evening to talk about the upcoming primary election our voter guide that is going to be coming out, and yeah, why it's important to be involved and how you can get involved in making sure that, now that Prop 17 is passed and system impacted people can vote, we need to make sure that they actually do. And there's things that you all can do to help us do that. But before I start the presentation, we do have our staff members here, so I want to go ahead and give them the chance to introduce themselves. So Jay, why don't we start with you?
Hey, thanks, Taina. I really appreciate it. For all of you who don't know me, my name is Jay. My pronouns are he, him, his, él, and I am the staff community organizer for Initiate Justice Action. It's been a blessing working with the organization, and we're here to abolish marginalization. So let's go. I'm gonna go ahead and shoot it to Emiliano.
Hi, everybody. My name is Emiliano. I'm the communications manager for Initiate Justice Action. It's been an awesome couple of months already, and we're off to a great start. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the presentation and what we have to offer.
Thanks, y'all. Daisy, can I get the next slide, please? All right, so I'm just going to start with a quick overview of who Initiate Justice Action is. So IJ Action, our mission is to mobilize the power of people impacted by incarceration to advance progressive policies in California. So we do that by conducting voter registration and outreach that targets system impacted people. So that means that we want to make sure that people who are formerly incarcerated know that they have the right to vote and get out there. There's also lots of misinformation out there about who has the right to vote and who doesn't. So one of our main goals is to make sure that people know that they do have their rights to vote restored. We also are going to be creating voter guides, which are written by people impacted by incarceration. More on that later. Starting in the general election for November, we will also be formally endorsing and opposing candidates who are running for office. It will be the first time that I'm aware of in California history where an organization completely made up of system impacted people will be endorsing and opposing candidates for office. And we just want to change the political power dynamic in California. Like right now, the public safety narrative is really framed around the police and prisons and district attorneys. When candidates talk about public safety, that's what they talk about. That's what they mean. They're talking about the police. So we want to shift that narrative and say, no, when you're talking about public safety, you need to be talking about people who have been incarcerated, people who are currently incarcerated, and their family members, because we are the ones who are the experts on public safety. We know exactly what is wrong and what we need to make our community safer. May I have the next slide, please, Daisy? And again, I just want to be really clear on compliance things. Don't want to get IJ or IJ Action in any trouble. So again, the distinction between Initiate Justice is Initiate Justice is a 501c3 organization that cannot endorse candidates, that cannot oppose candidates, has limits on lobbying, and cannot be partisan, which means, weigh in on elections in any way, shape, or form. But Initiate Justice on the 501c4 side, we can endorse and oppose candidates. We can work on political campaigns and legislation that falls within our political ideals, and we don't have any restrictions on lobbying timeframes or resources. So IJ can do some lobbying. That's why we're able to do bills and ballot initiatives and things like that. But Initiate Justice on the C3 side cannot do anything that has to do with candidates. Initiate Justice on the C4 side absolutely can, and we are. Next slide, please. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to just start with a quick overview of the primary election that is coming up in just a couple of weeks. June 7th is not that far away. There are some things that are different this time around compared to the last primary and general elections that were held. So I'll be talking about that. And then I'm going to get into our voter guide. So next slide, please, Daisy. All right, so just a quick overview for this upcoming election. So this is a primary election for, what's called the midterm elections. So this November will be our general election. It's not a presidential race, but it is a midterm race, meaning that there are still really important things that are on the ballot at the federal, state, and local levels. So I just wanted to, take a little bit of time to break this down for folks who might not be familiar. So on the federal level, the things that will be on our ballot for this primary election in June are our US senators. We have 2 senators who represent us at the federal level for each state. We will have the opportunity to vote on them on this ballot, and your member of the House of Representatives. So whatever your congressional district is, you will have the opportunity to vote for your member of Congress. And then at the state level, we're voting on a lot of things. We're voting on governor. And it might feel weird, like, wait, didn't we just vote for governor? That was a recall election. That was an anomaly. This is a regular primary election for our governor. And we will also be voting on the state constitutional offices, such as the Secretary of State, who's in charge of elections, the Attorney General, who's essentially the prosecutor for the state, and other offices like the Superintendent of Public Instruction, and people who run executive offices at the state level. We'll also be voting on the State Board of Equalization, which manages the state property taxes. And probably most significantly for us, we will be voting on our state legislators. So our state senators, which is different from your federal senators. There are 40 state senators in the state of California. Everybody is represented by one, and state assembly members. There are 80 state assembly members in California. Everybody is also represented by one. So that is what's going to be on your state ballot this year. And then local. So local, it depends on what county and city that you're in. Some of the local offices are on different schedules, but lots of folks will be voting on county seats, such as the County Board of Supervisor, the sheriff, and the district attorney. And depending on what city you're in, you may also be voting for your mayor or your city council member. So lots of really important things on this June 7th ballot. Can I get the next slide, please? All right, so just want to do, a quick review of voter eligibility so that everybody knows what your rights are to be able to register to vote. So in California, you just have to be 18 years or older, a US citizen, and a resident of California, and not currently incarcerated in a state or federal prison to be eligible to vote. So what that means is if you're out of prison, if you're on parole, or if you're on another form of supervision, such as post-release community supervision, yes, you can vote. If you are on county supervision, like probation, yes, you can vote. Also in California, you can vote if you are currently incarcerated in a county jail, not in a state or federal prison, but if you're currently incarcerated in county jail, you can vote. And California changed its laws recently, so everybody's getting a vote by mail ballot. So if you know somebody who's in county jail, let them know to register to vote, and make sure that they put the address of the facility where they're at, and they will get their ballots mailed to them while they're in county jail. The only people who cannot vote in county jail are people who are sentenced to a state prison sentence and are just waiting to be transferred. But even if you're under AB 109, like realignment, and you're in county jail, you can vote. It's complicated, and that's why people, don't really know what their voting rights are, and it's really important for us to make sure that people know what their voting rights are and register. So yes, now that you know, oh, sorry, Daisy, can you go back? I wanted to finish that slide real quick. Oh, we lost it. It's all right. I'm sure Daisy will bring it back. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and drop the link. So this is the link to register to vote online. So if you're not registered, you can go ahead and click that link and put your information, and you can register online. If you prefer to register using a paper, like physical application, you can do that. And you can pick up an application at most government or public spaces, such as the post office, DMV, public libraries, etc. And don't forget that you have to re-register to vote every time you change your address or your name. So if you change any of your major information, or if you move, you need to re-register to vote. So don't forget that, or else your ballot will go to the wrong house. Next slide, please, Daisy. All right. So here are some key dates to keep in mind for this primary election. first of all, this coming Monday, May 9th, can't believe this is here already, vote by mail ballots are going to be mailed out. So keep an eye out on your mailboxes. If you're already registered to vote, you should be getting your vote by mail ballot any day now. Something that changed with COVID is that everybody is automatically getting their vote by mail ballots in their mailboxes. So keep an eye out for that. And between Monday, May 9th and Monday, June 6th, early voting sites are open. So you can vote early in person for this period of the next like 3-4 weeks. So you can submit your vote by mail ballot in the mail. You can drop it off at a secure ballot drop box. Thank you, Jay, for dropping that link in the chat. So you can use that link to find a ballot drop box near you or an early voting site near you. Monday, May 23rd is the last day to register to vote. However, California also just passed. I love California right now. We're doing so many great things to make voting easier. If for some reason you or somebody that you know misses the May 23rd voter registration deadline, you can still register to vote on or before Election Day at a polling location, so at one of those early voting sites or at your polling place on Election Day, and you can vote provisionally. But what that means is that your voter registration status is pending and it needs to be verified before your vote is counted. So it's better to register before the voter registration date of May 23rd, but if for some reason that doesn't happen, you still can register to vote and vote provisionally between May 24th and Election Day, which is June 7th. And then Tuesday, June 7th is Election Day. You can vote in person. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can drop off your vote by mail ballot in person. But if you're submitting your ballot by the mail, please remember that your ballots have to be postmarked on or before Election Day. If they're not postmarked on or before June 7th, they will not count. Next slide, please. And sign. Yes, Ms. Yolanda, don't forget to sign the back of your ballot. So I wanted to talk about redistricting a little bit. Folks might be aware that it's a thing that every state and every county does in the country, where every 10 years we do a census, we count people, see where they live, and we redesign the districts for our federal, state, and local offices. So this is the first primary election since the census of 2020 where we have new districts now. So California was in a process of redistricting and redrawing our district lines for the better part of 2 years. And we just got our new district maps in December of last year. So if you go to vote this time and you notice, maybe you're not in the district that you were in before, things have changed. So there's new Senate districts and new Assembly districts. This is just a screenshot of the maps. If you want to find your new Assembly districts that will be reflected on the ballot, you can go to this website, and I'm gonna go ahead and drop that link in the chat, or maybe Jay is beating me to it. Yes, Mireya, so much has changed. So here's the link in the chat. And Lamar, to your question, it can be considered gerrymandering if it's unfair, and if it's unfairly, creating districts in ways that disempowers marginalized groups of people. Initiate Justice got our members very much involved in the redistricting process while it was going on. And, since you asked, I do want to shout out that thanks to advocacy that some folks on our team did, like Lee and Adam and Efrain and Michelle, they created a video that was actually played for currently incarcerated people to encourage them to weigh in on the new maps. And the redistricting commission got responses from 1,400 currently incarcerated people. So our voices were heard during this redistricting process. But that being said, districts are new, pay attention to that. You can use this link to find your new district. May I have the next slide, please, Daisy? All right, that was a lot on the primary election. I'll take a couple minutes if there are any quick questions, but if not, then I'm excited to talk about a project that IJ Action is working on, which is our voter guide for the primary election. But quickly, are there any questions on the primary election? All right, great. I will go ahead and move us along then. So, as we've been talking about, people on parole can vote now, system impacted people can vote, but we want to make sure that they actually do. But even if somebody wants to vote, it can be very daunting and confusing once you open up that ballot. There's a lot of different offices on there, especially now with redistricting. Things are very, very confusing. And we want to know, what the candidates' positions are on the issues that matter to system impacted people. So something that the Initiate Justice Action board members and staff members have been working on very intensely for the last couple of months is a voter guide, which is going to be released this Monday, May 9th, 2022, the same day that the vote by mail ballots drop. Daisy, may I have the next slide? All right, and here's a sneak peek of our cover. As you can see, Antoinette is the star. Not only is she a star presenter, but I don't know, Antoinette, I think you have a career in modeling ready for you too. So the Initiate Justice Action Voter Guide is a one-of-a-kind piece of work. It's written by people who are directly impacted by incarceration. So folks who are currently and formerly incarcerated and people with incarcerated loved ones. And our focus is on public safety issues and the platforms of candidates running for state office in California. The reason that we decided to work on this voter guide is because we think it's very important that people who are system impacted are able to analyze like these candidates and offer our input. We looked very closely at these candidates' public safety platforms, their views on expanding resources to the police and prisons, their voting records if they are already in office. And it's all from the perspective of system impacted folks. Next slide, please. All right, so I want to be clear about the things that this voter guide is and the things that this voter guide is not. So what this voter guide is, it is general information on the June 7th primary election. So lots of the info that I shared here is also going to be made available in the voter guide. It is research on candidates running for statewide office, including the constitutional offices and the state Senate and state assembly. So, those three tiers that I showed earlier, we're not focusing on federal office, we're not focusing on local office, and we're focusing mainly on the governor, the other 7 constitutional offices, and the state Senate and state assembly, because it's senators and assembly members who are writing these laws that impact people who are in the state prison system. This guide is an analysis of the candidates' positions and voting records on justice reform policies, if any, and we are also sharing their campaign finance information for each candidate, specifically whether or not the candidate has accepted campaign contributions from law enforcement. There's a connection between whether or not candidates take money from the cops and what their voting record looks like. So we are making it transparent and showing which candidates accept money from law enforcement agencies. Next slide, please, Daisy. And here's what this voter guide is not. So this voter guide is not an endorsement or opposition to any candidate. IJ Action has not endorsed or opposed any candidate. This guide is for informational purposes only. So again, just trying to share the information as objectively as possible. I think folks might know, where IJ Action stands on these issues, but nowhere in the guide are you going to say that we support this candidate or we oppose this candidate. We're just providing the information. Now, for the November general election, we will have a process in place for endorsing candidates. So next time, look for that. But this time, it's just informational. And this guide is also not an analysis of federal or local offices. I kind of mentioned that already. We're just focusing on the state candidates because our organization focuses on advocating for policy change at the statewide level. A couple other things that are not on this slide, that I want to mention is there are some limitations to the guide. There are a lot of people who are running for office, but really it's just their name that's going to appear on the ballot. They haven't raised any campaign funds. They don't have a website and things like that. So you're going to see there's lots of information that we don't have because it's not out there. And Another thing that I want to say is there's a lot of folks who may be very supportive of the police, but don't necessarily get funded by the police. That might be because the cops don't see them as a viable candidate, but there are definitely plenty of folks who are out there espousing the tough on crime narrative. And that's, regardless of whether or not they've received official campaign support from the police. Okay, now Daisy, I'm ready for the next slide. Thank you. All right, so now that I've talked about the voter guide and when it's coming out, we want to make sure that, people actually read it and use it. We're putting all this work into it. So we want to make sure that, that everybody sees it, but specifically system impacted people. So you all can actually help us to distribute the voter guide to system impacted people. So we're going to be distributing the voter guide both in person and online. Thank you, Jay. You just dropped the form. So if you want to sign up to volunteer to help us get the voter guide, to talk about the voter guide to people who are on parole, please sign up to volunteer through that link. Jay, our awesome community organizer, is going to be coordinating that effort. So if you fill out this form, he will, let you know specifically what support we need so that people aren't duplicating efforts. But we need help with folks, who are down to reach out to reentry facilities. If you know somebody who knows somebody who runs like a house, or, you have the opportunity to speak in front of people who are system impacted, let us know. We want to reach as many people across the state of California as possible who are system impacted and let them know about this voter guide. But also online. Emiliano is going to be putting together a social media toolkit, which will also be available once the voter guide drops. So, if you don't have the capacity to volunteer to help us get the word out in person, hopefully you can share the graphics and things like that we will have available online. So, once you see something, share it. We'll have the toolkit available for folks as well. But yeah, Daisy, can I get the next slide? So yeah, are there any questions on the voter guide, or what folks can do to support and help us get the word out?
Well, I don't have a question, but what I will say is just thank you, IJ Action, for this voter guide. As someone who has always had the right to vote, but didn't exercise it prior to, initiate justice and learning how critical my voice is in the voting process, this is extremely helpful because, again, like you mentioned, and just wanting to reiterate how daunting and discouraging it is to look at a ballot and not know any of the candidates, not know where to start in making a decision on those candidates, not know how they feel about issues that are important to me. So to have this voter guide, I am excited to use this voter guide, and also for several members of my family and community to have access to it, because it's super critical in making sure that we can make informed voting decisions. A lot of, I think, the discouragement and resistance to vote is lack of information, lack of access to exactly this. So thank you, IJ Action, the entire team, and everyone else who has supported this voter guide. I can't wait for it to be released.
No, absolutely. And I just saw a question in the chat. So actually, Daisy, could I get the next slide? Because I do want to just briefly talk. Oh, go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
Before you move on, sorry about that. But yeah, I just want to clarify, as the person who would be, kind of coordinating efforts, I just wanted to say that what we're asking, is for volunteers to help distribute the guide in their local networks. So like, if you know people who are, formerly incarcerated, people who are on parole, if you know people at halfway house, if you know individuals who are at the PAC meetings, who go to the PAC meetings, if you have, people in those circles who will be in the impacted circles, we're asking that you sign up for efforts to help distribute the physical copies. And this list right here, is based solely on availability. So it's not like we're not requesting anyone take on an extra job or any type of crazy burdensome task. So I just wanted to be clear about that. And we do appreciate everyone who has a passion a will or desire to help out in any way, shape, or form. So just please add your name, and then you'll be getting an email from me, Jay. And I just wanted to, throw that out there. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Jay. And I did see a question from Crispy around what can we do to help people get their ballots in jails. That is a wonderful question. We actually, Emiliano and I had linked up with our with the LA County effort to get people to register to vote in county. And we had 2 meetings set up and did all of the forms and did all of the trainings, and they canceled both of the voter registration days at the last minute. So if anybody has any insight on how to get into any of these county jails, we would definitely appreciate it. But yeah, Daisy, if we could go back to the presentation, I do want to take a couple minutes to, I know we're almost at time, but I also just want to offer to folks, if you want to get more involved and initiate justice action, outside of just the primary election, I would invite you to sign up to become a member of IJ Action. So I'm going to drop the link in here for a membership application. Oh, and Jay is right there too. So if you would like to become a member of Initiate Justice Action, we have 2 membership tiers, active member and supportive members. So we, in order to become a supportive member, all you need to do is complete the application. And if you're able to, please donate and pay membership dues. If you're not able to contribute to IJ Action, that is completely fine. You can select in your application that you're not able to contribute at this time, and you're still able to become a member. And then we just ask you to come to our meetings and participate in events whenever you can. So our general meetings actually just happened yesterday. They're the first Tuesdays of the month from 6:30 to 7:30. But if you're interested in becoming a more engaged IJ Action member, we have a new member orientation that takes place the 3rd Tuesday of each month. And we ask you to commit to coming to our general meetings, to sign up for a committee, and to sign our pledge. And if you want to learn more, please do come to our meetings. The next one is actually on election day. So make sure that you vote before that and then show up to our meeting on election day. Could I get the next slide, please, Daisy? All right, so just to wrap up, if you would like to join IJ Action, please complete that membership application. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Jay at jay@ijaction.org. He's our awesome community organizer who manages membership. And if you want to, be up to date with what we've got going on, specifically updates on the primary election and our voter guide, please do follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Our TikTok is not as cool as IJ's TikTok, but you can follow us at IJ Action. And as I said, our next meetings are, they're the first Tuesday of the month. So our next one is actually going to be on election day. I do see a question in here from Lamar about individuals incarcerated in mental hospitals. That's a great question. Technically, those folks are still currently incarcerated in a state facility. Right. And then there's the piece that Adriana just dropped in here as well. So one, if a person is found to be mentally incompetent by a court, then unfortunately they do not have the right to vote. And then 2, if they are legally still in a state facility, so that also includes MCRPs and things like that, then they do not have the right to vote. Their right to vote is restored once their sentence ends and they are on parole. But thank you for that question. And I know I'm at time already, but if there are any quick questions, yes, thank you all for listening to our presentation. Hope folks will sign up as members, hope folks will read our voter guide and help get the word out. And I hope that every single person here is registered to vote and votes in this primary election because it's very important. And yes, shout out to Jay's adorable daughter here, who is an activist in the making. But yeah, happy to take any quick questions before we have to wrap up. All right, great. Then I think I'll pass the mic back to you, Daisy.
I got one important question, Taina. So the primary election, is that the big show? Is that the one that we should all be gearing up for? Because some, may feel like it's a space for like a practice run to where they can kind of sit it out for the bigger event. Could you just real quick in 1 minute, like the importance of these two elections, please?
Every election is important, especially the ones that people think that we shouldn't really be showing up to. There is no election that is more important than the other. Go to all of them. Show up for the recall, show up for the local ones. If there's a special election, really it's the right, it's the opposition that counts on people not showing up and thinking that certain elections are more important than other ones. Every single election is important. Get your butt out there to every election. Now you don't even have to go to the polling place in person. Your vote by mail ballot is coming to your house. Fill it out, close it, sign it, send it in. You don't even need a stamp. The postage is paid. If you have any questions, myself and anybody at IJ or IJ Action are available to help you. And yes, Lamar, I would love to talk about that more. You're right. It is very important that we reach people who are in state mental hospitals. But yes, Adriana, I have heard that song. It is a vibe. Maybe we can have that as our theme song on. But thank you so much, everybody. Please do vote. And Daisy and Antoinette, I'll pass it back to y'all.
Thank you to Taina, Jay, Emiliano, and everyone at Initiate Justice Action for all the work that you are doing. I mean, this is really I think the start of something that we are looking forward and very much needed in our communities. And so starting with the voter guide, I think that's going to be something that's going to be really instrumental. So again, encouraging folks, there is a call to action. They need help. Initiate Justice Action needs our help. And so the ask is, if you have the capacity to distribute these voter guides, that they will provide to you in person and deliver them at locations like reentry homes, like parole offices, like the day reporting centers in your local area. Please sign up at the link that they dropped in the chat. Or if you don't have capacity to do that in person and prefer just to do word of mouth or sharing online, there is a social media version that will be available starting next Monday. And that's something that you can email out to your contacts or share via your networks on social media. So again, every and whatever way you can plug in to support, that's how we're going to get the word out to folks about this guide. And so looking forward to that. Thank you again, Taina and Jay. And Emiliano and everybody at IJ Action for the work that you have done on this. It's interesting because as the presentation was starting, I actually got a text message from a candidate that is running for to be a judge. And that candidate I recognize to be a district attorney who tends to pass or really force long-term plea deals on folks in my community. So that's just something that I just picked up right away as I know who this person is, and just paying attention and wondering how many folks know about that background or won't know that information when they just check off the box and think that it's okay to vote somebody like that into a position of a judge that has a lot of power in cases, as those of us with that direct experience know. But yeah, just thank you so much for that. And we will be sharing the PowerPoint in a MailChimp. So for anybody that wants to have a copy of the slide deck, we'll make sure to include that in the follow-up email. But again, if there are any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Anything that we don't get to tonight, if it's for Initiate Justice Action, we'll make sure to forward those questions over to them. But other than that, I wanted to close out our meeting by taking a moment to recognize a member of the month. So for folks who are brand new, we mentioned we have that outside membership structure where we are able to have folks in the community out here outside of prison walls be able to engage in that membership structure by attending our monthly meetings and getting involved with at least one committee, and also attending that orientation that we'll be doing here in a few minutes with anybody who's here for the first time. So again, encouraging folks that are here for first time to stay, and we'll promise we'll be very short. We know it's been a long night, but all that to say that we also recognize and appreciate all the work that our outside members do to support what we do here at Initiate Justice. You heard a lot of things tonight about the campaigns that we're working on, about the projects that we're working on, the fundraising efforts. And again, that's that week of wellness that is going to benefit our inside organizers. So again, uplift that. We'll be sharing that as well in the email that we send out. But again, really encourage people to share that fundraiser and that we'll be dropping in the chat. But all that to say that this work is not possible without our amazing. So sorry, I live right next to a busy street, so there's always cars racing over here. But all of this work is not possible with the support, without the support of our outside members. And so we wanted to take a moment to recognize this month an outside member and organizer who actually graduated from our Institute of Impacted Leaders program out of the Long Beach cohort. And the Institute of Impacted Leaders program is a 12-week program where we train people on community organizing, on state advocacy, and how to stand up for themselves and their rights when it comes to CDCR. So the person that we are recognizing tonight is someone that has been extremely involved since they joined our Institute of Impacted Leaders program and graduated. They've been very active in attending multiple committees that we have. So they're not involved in just one, they're involved in many. And they also, in addition to their role as an outside organizer, outside member of Initiate Justice, they also have additional advocacy hats that they take on for the groups that they are in the community to really empower folks who are impacted by incarceration. And so I saw this person really break out of their shell last year when we were doing legislative visits, which is where we organize meetings with legislative offices to discuss bills that we are working on. And so this person jumped in and learned the ropes as we did these visits. And so it was really an honor to be able to teach them how to be an effective advocate in those meetings, and now seeing them organize folks in their community to become these strong advocates. And so we wanted to take a moment to recognize our outside member and organizer for the month of May, Myra, who I don't think is here tonight, but I am going to make sure she watches this because she has done a lot of work behind the scenes in terms of the advocacy efforts that they do. Even when it comes to sharing on social media, that is another tool that we have at our disposal to become involved in advocacy efforts if we're not ready yet to be out in the spotlight when it comes to what we are doing. So that is something I encourage folks to get involved with the social media aspect of it, that a simple share goes a long way. And so Myra has been really instrumental in making sure people are aware about the work that we are doing, and also inviting members of their community that they're involved with to join the Institute of Impacted Leaders and also learn the skills that we taught her through the Institute. So please join me in recognizing Myra. We are going to be in contact with you, Myra, if you're watching this later, in an email, because we actually do have a little something we want to share with you. So congratulations for being our May member of the month on May 4th, to be with you, like they say in Star Wars or whatever that phrase is. But just wanted to take a moment to shout out one of our dedicated organizers and members. And so with that being said, I'm actually going to turn it over to Antoinette, who's going to give us our closing remarks and take us home for the evening.
Thank you, Daisy. And yes, again, round of applause, sentiments in the chat for Myra, our May member of the month, echoing Daisy in that we cannot do this work and be as successful as we have been as an organization without the support of all of you, our outside members, our outside organizers, and then also our inside members and our inside organizers. And so speaking of inside organizers, again, they are a critical part of our work in leading change efforts inside of prisons. So make sure that you tune in to our week of wellness next week to support our inside organizers and let them know that we out here care, we see them, we hear them, and we are advocating alongside them here on the outside, and we care about their wellness and their wholeness. So again, our week of wellness is going to be next week, May 9th through the 12th. And so there's several events. I will plug the link to learn about the week of wellness into the chat for everyone. Adam just dropped it. Thank you very much, and others. So click on that link, get engaged with our week of wellness, share it with your friends. Every little bit helps. Every single donation is very much appreciated, even if it's just $1. And if you donate $1, that supports the inside organizing curriculum going inside, or workbook going inside to a new potential inside organizer. And so wanting to uplift that, please, please, please get engaged with our week of wellness next week. And then also reminding folks that we are releasing another episode of Abolitionist for Everybody next week on Tuesday. So tune into that. But our next member meeting, just like this one tonight, is going to be on June 1st. That's Wednesday, June 1st. The first day of next month is the first Wednesday of the month. And so we'll look forward to seeing everyone on June 1st for our next member meeting. And you can register for any member meeting that's coming up at any given time if you go to tinyurl.com/IJ monthly. Again, tinyurl.com/IJ monthly. We hope to see everyone next month on the 1st, after you've probably already submitted your mail-in ballot or are working to get that mail-in ballot submitted. So don't forget to vote. Look out for that voter guide on May 9th from IJ Action. If you didn't sign up for IJ Action, I don't know what you were doing, but definitely tune in to IJ Action to make sure that you get the latest updates on the voter guide. You can help distribute the voter guide within our communities, and just excited to continue building power alongside so many of you amazing folks and powerful folks here in our communities. But thank you everyone for a wonderful evening. If you are here for the very first time, hang around a little bit. Me and Daisy want to chat with you. We'll have our new member orientation just to tell you a little bit more about our story here at IJ and how and why it's important that you stay engaged with our work. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Congratulations, Myra. And everyone, again, enjoy the rest of your week.